At this time, I'd like to call to order the Emerald Park Green for Life Landfill Standing Committee at 5:05 PM on March 29th, 2021. Would the secretary please read the roll?
Annalise Smith,
Present.
Patrick Murray, not here. Mark Slocum,
Here.
Michael Colling, not here. Harvey Schweitzer,
Here.
Recording Secretary Scott Kreger, here. Alderman Eileen Madden,
Here.
Greg Burmeister,
Here.
Roland Kiefer,
Here.
Dan Oltenberger, absent. Chad Siegel, and Joe Spear Jr.
Here.
One other, remember, anyone who's a guest, please sign in. I believe I saw Frank did that, but just for future, letting people know. This meeting was posted in accordance with Wisconsin open meeting laws on March 25th, 2021.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the January 4th, 2021 meeting. How do you wish to move?
Move to approve.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Corrections, addition, discussion? Upon hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The minutes are accepted unanimously. Open forum. At this time, we allow 5 minutes for anyone from the community who wants to say something, and I don't even see anybody here. Compliance officer report.
I have 2 reports. I've got the year-end summary of all the audits. I've handed out everyone a sheet of the summary itself. The chair has the full packet, and there'll be a disc available in a day. In the summary, we cover the change in management, the change of ownership, that there was an NOV for excessive volume leachate, which was corrected. There is discussion about odor, which was not corrected at the time this was finished, so it doesn't record that. It is pretty straightforward over the past years that we've had. I've put in extra detail about leachate management and so on for those people that might have questions, along with the gas. And the other report is smaller. I've decided to try to have more of a tangible summary for meetings. This is the first quarter of operational landfill for 2021. The highlight is to point out that in February, Chad identified a odor leaking from one of his vaults, the side slope riser. Chad sealed it. He told me about it at the following audit, which was 3 or 4 days later, and he hasn't had an odor complaint since.
Questions? Comments?
How did you detect that fault?
How did I detect it?
Yeah.
Well, on our daily inspections, we do a drive around. Yeah. All right, turn around, you can sit down.
It's, you know what, it's on. If you just want to sit with it, go ahead.
Yeah. Right.
It kind of, yeah, just kind of pop around there. There we go.
Is it working?
Yeah, you can go sit down now.
You can keep it.
It works this time. So we have daily inspections that we drive around the perimeter of the landfill. We go along all the haul roads. We go all over the landfill. With visitors and employees, we always noticed a strong odor coming from the corner of, I would say, 7 South area. And the odor was always persistent in early mornings and later afternoons, early evenings. And we were kind of discussing where the odor was coming from. And over the past couple of years, we'd always have SEM hits there, which would detect odors behind the vault. Well, we sealed up behind the vault, but we never did anything in the vault. So I popped the cover and my meter was going off with H2S, which is, a very, very odorous gas. We sealed up around the 18-inch side slope riser pipe that goes down to the floor of the landfill with foam and some kind of like a rubber undercoating to really complete the seal. that seemed to resolve the odor issues on the south side. And that was the main contributor to some of our neighbors having odor complaints later evenings. They would have the odor complaints, and then sometimes early mornings, depending on wind direction. So since then, we haven't had nearly the amount of odor complaints, and even driving through there doing our daily inspections, the odors are very, very limited, which is a win on our part. So we'll take that small win.
Have you looked at the other vaults to see what condition those seals are in?
Yes, so it's kind of difficult to see because all the vaults are insulated with a spray foam, but they do have a large rubber fern coat on them that seals them from the concrete structure to the pipe. And I have been inspecting those. I did repair one other one, which would be 6 East, would be the vault to the east of that one. And I'll continue doing that. It's part of my daily inspection, not lately, but since the first of the year, we inspect all the vaults daily for liquid, odors, anything that comes up, and then we address them accordingly. And then once a week, I do log the inspection, and you guys can see that if you'd like. I note if there's any liquids, any leaks, any repairs, anything that needs to be done. So all of that is on file if you ever want to see it.
Questions, comments? What items do you have or have you thought about for the future to review, look at? Because as I've mentioned, I think that the contractor, along with the on-site inspector, did not do a good job on this expansion, because this odor issue and the piping issues associated with it is only one thing so far that was missed. If you remember, a couple years ago, we had a leachate issue that we were chasing. And what we found out was the lines were never clamped. It wasn't that the clamp came loose. It was never clamped. So I've mentioned this to Chad, that I'm concerned that there were some other, if you want to call them shortcuts, or just maybe they were supposed to inspect it on Fridays. I don't know. But those are the things that I'm kind of looking at.
Sure, I would say working closer with the QCA group, during the evaluation of when the work is being performed, and also having site personnel more involved, especially during walkthroughs at the end of the projects. We can pick up some of the minor details. It's always worth having a fresh set of eyes on these projects. There's a lot going on, and I think if we continue with that, we should definitely be able to catch any of the minor issues that could lead to much larger issues in the near future.
Is there any thought to increasing personnel to be able to address this in the future?
So with that being said, we do have a full-time well tech now. We moved up from Delavan. He is on site 100% of the time. He is doing much more aggressive tuning. He is he's very, very mechanically inclined. He understands what's right and what's wrong and how things are supposed to operate and look. He's also a part of the inspections with me, so him and I will go to problematic areas where we think there's odors. We'll do our best to address them if we can on that day. If not, we'll visit with Dan or somebody else to come up with a solution. I think with that added personnel, it's another set of eyes that'll definitely do the site good.
Good. Questions, comments? Okay, status of projects. Clay extraction, you got anything going on?
As of right now, we are pulling small amounts of clay just for daily cover on our outboard slopes. We are looking at having the cell construction start about mid-May. So that'll be a good amount of clay extraction out of that area.
Where's that going?
That'll be stockpiled, most likely, and be used for the CAP project, which we don't have a date on when that's going to begin as of yet. But we will keep it on site. It'll be stockpiled on site.
Okay.
Do you have, mean it's going
Do
to
you
break?
have any off-site hauling on the clay or?
Very minimal. I forget who was in there. I think it was R&W was in there, just taking small amounts of clay for a project that they were working with the city of Waukesha with.
Okay.
No large amounts.
All right.
Harvey, does that mean you're going to store it on the Briggs site?
No, it'll most likely be in the southwest corner. So in the general area where the compost is, we will probably put it along the southern edge of the landfill.
MMSD project, how is gas deliveries going? I went by there the other night, 3-4 nights ago, and the large flare was just shooting a big old flame up in the air.
MMSD is taking all that we can give them. So on average, we've been flowing a total destruction of 2,400 SCFM. They have been taking as much as 1,500 to 1,600 of it, which would leave us, much less to be, using or lighting our utility flare with. We've had a few small issues with the gas plant, but nothing that has gone for any length of time for a non-delivery.
Okay, so when I drove by the other night, that was because you were delivering or had the capability, we're pulling out of the landfill 2,400 CFM, but only sending 1,500 to MMSD?
Correct, and as you know, it's all on MSD or MMSD's request. They take what they need. So whatever we can give them, they're taking right now.
Okay. Electronic recycling?
E-waste is good. We're not seeing nearly as much as we did last year, that's for sure. But they've been on time. It's been staying clean, and the container's been relatively empty with minimal outside storage.
Good.
One thing on the e-waste, just to let everyone know, I put a update in our new newsletter that would come out, and it was focused on e-waste. So don't be surprised if you see more people dropping it off. I always try to focus on something. This time was e-waste, just to let everyone know. So we put a little blurb in there. So,
along with that, the DNR has proposing additional rules for e-waste. And right now, there's a public comment period open through April. I don't remember what it was exactly, but sort of expanding and really being into e-waste really seriously, because it's been a difficult thing to get into because they didn't know which direction to go. And one of the big problems with it is what materials are truly recyclable, because a lot of them are ending up right in the landfill again. But they went through the e-waste process. But because there was no market, they were going around and around and then finally back into the landfill. And part of what they're talking about in their new proposed regs is to not waste all that money and resources requiring recycling when there is no market.
that email just came to me today about the public, what you just talked about, Mark, so.
Okay.
And what kind of items would not be of interest for recycling that is gonna be a change and end up in the mountain now?
I don't have that list right in front of me, but there was a number of things that they were attempting to e-cycle, and there just wasn't a market for it. One of the problems you get into is everybody thought the electronics was what was going to be recycled. And in fact, that becomes a very difficult task to get off in an economical fashion. For example, surface mounts off multi-layer circuit boards that are on a lot of the new electronics. And then you end up with all of these cases, usually plastic in one shape, form, or another, and the market for a lot of that stuff just doesn't exist. And so they have to go through and are going to go through an evaluation process of what can truly be economically recycled and at the same time, what can't be. Also, can those materials be sent back to the originating vendors? You know, for example, HP sells a lot of computers in the state of Wisconsin. But if the new plastic cases aren't recyclable, can they be shipped back to HP for them to deal with the issue? Just as an example.
Yeah. Well, do we expect a lot more of the stuff going to end up in the landfill?
No, no. This is really, when they started the e-cycle, they wanted to get this stuff out of the landfill. And so it was a broad brush attack taken to prevent it from going in. But then they couldn't get recyclers to qualify to meet the regulations for e-cycle, and the recyclers themselves couldn't find markets for the materials that were coming off. And so in the past, a large amount of it has ended back up in the landfill because it was such a broad approach. It was not selective enough to get the stuff that was worth economically recycling. So the regs are really fine-tuning what was there. You can, if you go to the DNR site, you will see the regs that are up for review, and you can take a look at them. Everything is there. Their whole goal is to be as open as they possibly can to give everybody a chance to say something and, you know, be a part of the process. Yes.
So the comment period is through the mid-month. I think they said the 16th. April 16th is when public comment ends. And this is like the rulemaking portion of it. It's not the legislative portion of it. So it's trying to provide additional clarity as to what was covered already in the statute. So further clarifying definitions and things like that was my, and again, I just was notified of it today. So it was a quick read, but that seems to be the bulk of it.
Yeah, it seems very positive from what I was able to look at so far.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Residential drop-off. No fistfights?
So the residential drop-off, that's going to be part of the relocation of the residential drop-off will probably be completed third quarter because it's also going to be part of the cell construction project.
The what?
It's going to be part of the cell construction project. So the cell that we're doing, it's going to be lumped into one. And I think we spoke with Annalise before too, and we were shooting for like the third quarter of 21, I believe.
That's new information to me, but I'm happy to get the information.
Okay. So that's what we're looking at. I mean, that could change, but potentially it could be out to third quarter when the project's completed.
Okay. But we'll hear more about that.
I mean, as we get fired up with the projects and everything else and get material moved around, I'm sure there'll be updates.
Okay. Well testing for well water protection area. Frank?
Yes, just a little review. If you remember, this was the December 2020 event that got pushed back due to COVID. And it was rescheduled for February 22nd through the 25th. 35 homes were sampled and sent to PACE Lab. On Friday, March 12th, about 15 days after the sampling event, PACE Lab notified us that they had a laboratory problem. The VOC instruments that they use for drinking water wasn't calibrating, wasn't responding. They had hoped to get it fixed. It didn't happen. So there were 16 samples out of the 35 that went past the hold time. As soon as we were notified, we then got another set of 16 samples, contacted the homeowners that had been sampled, let them know. And we resampled those homes on March 15th through the 18th. 14 were done. One was done on the 22nd, and one homeowner has still yet to be sampled. They're scheduled to be done on April 7th. So right now we have a variety of different reports and things like that from the laboratory. There was one other issue with 19 samples early on in the first round. Chlorobenzene was detected at a very low level. It was all J-flagged. It was less than 0.5 parts per billion. That's less than, the bottles are cleaned, certified to 0.5 parts per billion. So we were finding less than that in 19 samples. 16 of those were redone and they came back clean. So there are still 3 out there that have J flags for chlorobenzene. They weren't resampled because of that. There is one home out there, or one business, it's a trucking company that had some exceeded levels, and we're going to be retesting them per our protocol this week.
Okay. If I understood what you said, 19, the first 19 that exceeded the time element at PACE.
16 exceeded whole time.
16 that
Yes.
exceeded the whole time?
Yes,
Okay, but it was those 16 that also had a chlorobenzene
Correct.
detection?
correct. Yep.
And now that you have resampled those,
Chlorobenzene has not been detected in those 16 again.
has it been detected on anything since resampling?
No, since resampling all 6 of those. Oh, you mean other VOCs?
No, on chlorobenzene,
Yeah,
has that been detected on the resampling
no,
because of the whole time issue?
no. 16 homes are resampled. The second round of VOCs do not have any chlorobenzene in them. The first round did. But J-flag, very low, lower than the 0.5 standard that the bottles are cleaned to.
Joe?
Frank, did the trip blank go through the VOC detector?
Yes, they did, the trip links, and the trip links were all fine.
But did it make it in the whole time?
I'd have to check and see that, I don't know. But
Okay.
all the trip links that were collected the first or second round, nothing was detected.
Thank you.
One thing with the laboratory, the trip links come from the bottle, the certified bottle, so it's a different lot. So they just take those trip links that are manufactured by the bottle cleaners and include them in the sample kits.
On the resample, was the bottles that were used from the same batch or from a different batch?
That I don't know. That's something that I don't even know if the laboratory knows. They get certified clean bottles from ICHEM, but I don't believe they recall or record a batch number to that bottle set.
Boy, they better. Would you check on that
Okay,
for my benefit, and then you can send me an email on that?
sure.
Questions? By the way, as soon as this happened, I was notified, and of course, Dan at the landfill was notified. And the reason that Dan gets notified is that Dan at the landfill is actually directly funding this activity. So they oversee, to an extent, of what is going on. And so when they said they had the issue that they were going to go out and resample, my response was fine, go ahead, that's it.
We'll have a final report in the next meeting or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of summer. None of the homeowners are all fine, they understood. We really didn't get any, adverse comments or anything from the homeowners. The laboratory is paying for the 16 resampling, our time and the analytical. So it's not gonna increase the cost.
Okay.
One other note, this is why we collect 10 to 15 samples at a time. We try to schedule, so they go through the laboratory in a batch. Now, that is recorded as to what batch these samples were run and things like that. And we know what run those all occurred and things. And that's why sometimes you do get this kind of contamination or issue in the laboratory, and it should happen, pretty much throughout that whole run or whole batch if there was something incorrectly done at the laboratory. Not a onesie, twosie type of thing. So we like to get them in and trip lengths and so forth, get as many samples in that cooler with that trip length, so that if there is something, hopefully it'll show up in multiple samples. Not that we want that, but it helps explain what happened.
Any other questions, comments? Plan modification issues?
Nothing is currently submitted to the DNR for plan mods.
You got something on your desk you're working on?
No.
No? Okay. Property protection, sociological,
So the payments went out, I believe, mid-January, and then with the payments, there was a letter on behalf of ADS and GFL that seemed to help people understand what was going on. I know Dan put that together, and everybody, I assume, read the letters, so hopefully that made sense.
did it make sense, Harvey?
Yeah, I knew what was happening, so.
I must have missed mine. I don't get one, so.
The check bounce?
Household hazardous waste.
All right, so to check all of your eyesights, there are two reports. The tinier one is the wrap-up of 2020. So with this, we can officially put 2020 in our rearview mirror. If you flip to the second page, that's really going to have the bulk of the information where it compares 2020 final numbers to 2019 numbers to give the context.
Do you need a copy? You can have mine.
Here is, I can give you. Here we go. Oh, you got one? So you'll notice that not surprisingly, both tonnage, participation, and total costs were down in 2020 as compared to 2019. They did trend up towards the end of the year, and that was primarily due to back in April when everything was really happening. Veolia had shut down collection operations, and then towards the end of the year, things were up more like normal. We did also see the closure of 2 of the HHW sites in 2020. One we knew about with more advanced notice, and that was the one at the Franklin site. And then the other site was closed with a little less notice, and that was the Muskego site. So we are still working with GFL to get a new HHW site, and it would be at the Emerald Park landfill, up and running this year yet. And that would be twice per month that would be open. But, just waiting on kind of the timelines, and signatures and details for that. So that's the only update I have on that.
Okay. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Where do people in Muskego now go for household hazardous waste?
They would need to use either for permanent sites. We have the Waukesha location and the Menominee Falls location. And then for special events, the nearest one would be in Muskego. There will be a special event in Muskego. So, and we do track by municipality attendance. And there have been people traveling, obviously less than we would normally see with the 2 sites more in this vicinity open, but we're seeing less people across the board still than we have in the past. So it's a little hard to compare apples to oranges. So looking forward to having that other site back up and running.
Is that going to be with that residential drop-off type thing about the same date? You're saying mid or third quarter or
Yeah,
what?
sometime in the third quarter. I mean, it could be the beginning of the third quarter. It could be middle. We're not exactly sure yet. So it's all project dependent.
And I guess what I've been telling some of my people is if you got some stuff stored on the side and it'll be back. So.
Yeah. I think also the special event would be around that same time frame. I don't have the exact date on me, but that would be another closer option potentially. So.
That won't be until the third quarter either?
The special event is May or June. I would need to double check the date.
That's in Muskego.
Correct. Or, no, Muskego. That's Muskego.
So Muskego is not going to have a special as they have in the past?
Muskego's never had a special event. They've always had the permanent collection. So once they have the permanent collection site, that would be the option.
Okay.
Looking at 2021 numbers then would be the second set of paperwork that was handed out, and comparing, this is just including January and February. So this is a comparable year over year to pre-COVID versus post-COVID. And you'll see that we still are down total participants and total pounds. So we're not yet to pre-usage, but we're up over kind of, we're starting to see that climb up again of usage.
You put a lot of work into this. Thank you.
So I'll keep everybody in the loop as we work through with GFL to get that site up and running. I know you guys are as anxious as I am to get that back up and running to normal. I know that the stopgap to taking it to Waukesha or Menominee Falls is not the greatest. But we're moving on it as fast as we can move.
Okay, when I look at this report in terms of the 220 end of year performance to budget, if I'm reading that, we were under budget by 82,000, is that right?
Correct.
Does that roll over or is that gone?
That budget authority is gone.
Okay, so the contribution that comes from the landfill is that used up first? Is that used up equally?
It's used up second. So
Pardon?
it's second. The grant money is used first. And then I believe per the agreement, it's the EPL and then it's the county budget.
Okay, so EPL funds are used second and the last is the county budget.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Could you double check that, let me know? Because to have the funds from the landfill that were actually handed over, not carryover, would seem to be an issue. But if they were totally consumed, then obviously there was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making myself
Yeah, I
clear?
understand. I understand. And I can verify, I can verify. But
Okay.
yeah, that's how it works is it's used first, so.
Okay. Anybody else? New business, we have none. Continuing business, update on odors.
Well, you tell me, how have the odors been?
A lot better.
Okay, when you say a lot better, Rolly, what do you mean?
Because when I drive up Highway 45, I actually can leave my windows open now.
Okay. Do you, in the last month, have you detected or heard about odor issues associated with Emerald Park specifically?
No, I have not myself.
'Cause I think right now, at least my feeling is that we've arrived at the point that when you get an odor issue, depending on where it's detected, we're not sure if it's from Emerald Park or from Waste Management.
Well, you sure can when you look at the flags. Which way the wind's coming from.
Yes, that's very helpful, I realize that.
So you can tell which way it's coming from, so.
Okay,
And that's something that's gonna need to be paid attention to is wind direction, because Waste Management is doing some digging, putting in some wells. And, I don't know if it was last Monday, Tuesday, but there was an odor complaint, and it actually was Waste Management. Because I had called Travis to see what they were doing, and they were putting in some wells. So yes, it's going to behoove everyone to now know where the wind direction is. Because they're constructing a lot of things, and Green Life or whatever we are. I don't think that there's been a an odor complaint this month legitimately out of Muskego. And the last couple days, obviously, it's been south wind, so I wouldn't be able to say that, but I think they really did finally find their issue.
Did you have that get together with the local residents down there?
I know Dan sent out some emails and he's looking to schedule those. I know he's taking the lead on it.
Okay.
But to follow up with Harvey's comment, yes, we did have an odor complaint on 3/22, which was last week. And there was a east to northeast wind most of that day. And I logged at the site that you could smell garbage at the entrance of our landfill. Like Rolly said, look at the flags and you can see where the wind's coming from, and it was not us. It was impossible for us. So it may be them from time to time. I'm not saying we're going to be 100% order free, but thank you for commenting on that. And yeah, look at the flags and just pay attention to where the wind truly is coming from.
Any other issues, comments?
I got one more thing to ask. I see that they were picking up the garbage after the snow left now on the Franklin side. I noticed they did one side of the road, Highway 45 up. Are you planning on doing the other side then, or?
Yeah, if you look, we did focus on the property line of the landfill itself, probably about 100 yards either way of the entrance. We're waiting on some temp labor to get a little further to the north and south.
Okay.
We're paying close attention to everything that's on site. We want to get the items out of the trees and the rest of it, because as you know, the last couple weeks, the winds have been pretty ruthless for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is planned. Once again, I called out to the temp agency on Friday. It's a crapshoot. I mean, we were supposed to get 2 of them. We didn't get anything today. So I'm keeping our 2 temps as busy as I can on site. And then if we can break free, we'll send one of them out to the highway.
Okay.
So it is difficult to get temporary workers?
Yes, it's very difficult.
Wow.
How much do you pay those people to pick up that garbage?
They make about $15 an hour. That's what the landfill pays them. Or that's what we pay the staffing agency.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, hopefully you'll find more people. Yeah.
Let's hope.
Could I make a comment? 2 weekends ago, I dropped stuff off over at the residential. And I was pleasantly surprised to see how clean the grounds were over at the dumpster area. And also, you've come up with a good idea that direct some of that traffic to the backside of those dumpsters. You can double the activity that's going on within the area. And it makes it a lot easier to load instead of fighting other people on the front end of it. Your fella that was working there, Chris, was very helpful and a friendly person to be working there that I met that day.
Yep, we're paying close attention to the residential drop. I mean, we're keeping an eye on broken glass, any debris that is outside of the containers. We clean it up right away. Even during the winter time, we made sure that we had enough area snow blowed around all the cans so people had easy access to them. So it is one of the first things you see when you roll up to the site. So we'll continue doing that. Thank you.
Yeah, the asphalt was nice and clean over there.
Good. Other business, review payment from committee funds. Any questions on that? Pardon?
I just started ripping the screen.
Oh. Communications and other business is authorized by law.
Wait, we forgot the.
Oh, yes, I did. I also have another issue. We've got this, should be after this.
I'll have to go back and look at previous.
Go look at some previous ones, not just the last one. I'm sure that this was after this. It should have been the very last thing.
Okay.
As a
I can
guess.
check it.
Okay, I got ahead of myself. Confirm the next meeting date, June 28th, 4 p.m. Now that is set to be an annual tour followed by the meeting at 5 p.m. and this would be at the landfill, obviously. Now, I'm looking for a sense of the number of members that would partake in the annual tour at the landfill. Come on.
I'll do
Only
it.
3?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Changes
4,
every
okay.
day. I'll drive the van.
I'm out, I don't wanna go.
I got 2 guys dropped off already.
Yeah, this whole end.
Scott's gonna go.
Oh, I'd edit my RSVP too.
Good.
I can't.
Pardon me?
Sorry, I can't. Sorry.
Can't?
Yeah, I just looked at the date. I won't be able to go on the tour.
Okay.
Where do you guys want to have that 5 o'clock meeting?
The 5 o'clock meeting, I would think we would hold it at the landfill because I would think that rather inconvenient to, have the tour and then turn around and come back up here.
All right.
I think we have room there to.
Here, one question,
Go
just
ahead.
as a recording secretary for you guys to all think about here. This room is designed for public meetings. I'm just letting you, not that you guys like the landfill, I don't know what the host agreement is, I don't know, but right now, everything that you say is fully recorded. Any person from the city of Muskego, anyone who wants to come in, I have tons of parking here, they can come in, they can sit. If there's an issue during January for snow plowing, we can get DPW here. As we think of COVID, and it seems like it's slowly gonna go away in the fall, where you wanna host these future meetings here, my recommendation to be transparent to everyone in the city of Muskego, this room is designed to do it. I mean, you guys are all up here, you're all recorded, everything's said. Any person that can walk in can come here. Maybe for when you do the tour, maybe you're right, or you do the tour at 3:30, you end it at 4:30, you come back here to do it. I'm just thinking, I was using this iPad to record you guys, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it runs out of memory. Here, everything works, and it's all recorded, and any taxpayer or any resident who wants to come in, they can come in here and talk about it. So I'm just highly suggesting for future meetings to kind of think about doing it here again.
Are you suggesting that people are not welcome over at the landfill?
I think sometimes they don't know where it is.
Look up
Some.
in the air.
What?
Look up in the air and sky, you can find the landfill.
I know. I'm just saying that this room is designed for anyone to speak, and it's all recorded down, and it works really well. Just letting you know for future kind of thought process. And I don't know what the host agreement is. Maybe the host agreement says it has to be at the landfill. I'm just saying that this is designed for complete transparency, and anyone, we can put up anything on the screens, like what you're seeing right down there, it's all on the screens for everyone to look at, for all the financials, any agreement, anything that people want to talk about it, it's here. We get a recording, I have everyone signed in. I'm just letting you know, that's why they designed this room. It's designed for ADA, it's designed for hearing impaired, it's what this room's designed for. So it's just throwing that out there, because sooner or later we are going to get out of COVID. And we're gonna have these, you know, meetings back somewhere. So just food for thought. You guys are.
Yeah. What if you would do this? Change the tour since there's only 4.
Harvey?
What if you change the tour date to a different day?
Okay.
And then you could come back here for the meeting. Make it a lot simpler.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And do it instead of on Monday.
Okay,
do it on
let's
Tuesday.
kind of bring it up for a little bit of discussion here.
We could push the meeting till 5:30.
No,
I still want to do it
here's,
before.
I mean,
You could push the meeting to 5:30 if it'd be easier.
okay, I'd like to bring up what was just addressed to me, and that is have the tour on a date independent of the meeting date, if that would be of benefit or perceived to be of benefit. For example, right now it says tour June 28th. Well, the tour might not be until July or August.
No, it'd have to be before the meeting. It would have to be the week before. Because if we see something on the tour we don't like, we don't want to wait another quarter. So it'd have to be the week or so before.
Okay, so your thought is having
week
a
of June
tour a week before the meeting?
Correct.
When is our next meeting after June? Is that in August?
October.
Oh, October. Okay. Otherwise, I was gonna say push the tour off till October, you know?
You got the same problem though. If we want to use this building for our meetings,
October, you might be able to hold your meeting outside even, so. And there's a lot of room there. But see, the tour has to be open to the public.
Right.
It's an open meeting, so we can't just go scheduling a tour where all of us are gonna go out there and jump in his van and leave, you know, without having it posted and everything else.
It would be if you are to do it separately on a separate day, it would be posted as another meeting, but its only purpose would be to have the tour of the landfill.
Okay.
There would be no indoor meeting after that.
Yeah, all right.
I bring that up to see if that's of interest, and I'm also looking to get your input, Chad. Where does that fit with you guys?
For the tour, I think it would be a better tour if it was on the June 28th, because they'll also be able to see the cell construction. I mean, it'll be about mid-project, so I think it'll be a better site. October, you know, we're also running into rain and inclement weather, which isn't always nice, but at least in the summertime, you'll be able to see full swing of the project and see what we're doing, and I think it'd be a better tour for everybody.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing a lot. So unless I hear any objection, I would say we confirm the next meeting to be June 28th, to be the tour, followed by the meeting at 5 p.m. Now, you can decide where you want that meeting. Do you want it at the landfill or do you want it up here?
You want to take a vote on it, or?
Just speak up.
Okay,
I'm looking-
well, I like meeting here very much. I mean, if we're talking about travel, we're talking about what, 4 or 5 miles at the very most? I mean, you're driving.
That's not the point.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah.
Generally, it used to be that we would have support at the landfill that we wouldn't have here, such as drawings and other things that we would have, that we used to need from time to time. Lately, we have not needed that.
Right, I don't remember ever needing it in the.
Oh, my
well,
goodness,
like
yes.
the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
So I'd still prefer to come here.
Okay.
For our meetings.
Eileen?
Well, I think this is a great place to have our meetings. People will be comfortable sitting out here instead of stuck in a corner in a dirty office. If they wanted to
Oh,
come
my
and
God.
listen. Come on, I'm sorry, it's a dirty office.
No, I don't think that was appropriate, but that's okay. Hardy?
I guess you got two things going. This meeting, I think, is gonna be a tight squeeze. If at 4 o'clock you drive up on the hill, you tour, you come back, by the time you get back, it's gonna be an easy half hour. And to get from that side of town to this side of town, meeting's gonna be late. So you're gonna have to move the 5 o'clock time.
You can do 5:30.
We do it 5:30, it'll be.
So that's a for sure has to change. I also think that being at the site does give opportunity periodically. I think last year even Mike was drawing on the board, trying to explain to us some different things, showing us some things on the site. They can certainly do them here, I'm sure. And in today's world, transparency is the big thing. So it would make, in that sense, it would make sense to be here. But we may have difficulty getting construction drawings and things shown here. I don't know how they do that here.
I could request an electronic copy, you know, if that's the route you want to go, if you know the construction docs are important to you, we could definitely do that. Otherwise, we will have an updated master gas plan that I could also bring you. It'd be a paper copy, but I mean, we could explain anything that anybody would want to know on it. Okay. So we could do the electronic copy, or we could do the paper copy. But we could definitely provide that if anyone had questions.
Chad, you can take just how this room works. If you bring a laptop with the plan, right there, there's a cord under there you can hook up your laptop to. Boom, you can change it. Every one of your screens that are next to you and all those will be his computer, and he can run everything he wants. I do it all the time. You just bring a laptop, it's all yours. You lock right in. You're not on anything with the city. All you're on is 1, 2, 3, 4 screens and all your screens. And whatever he wants to talk about, he can tell right in front of you. And he can bring a laptop every time. It's just as easy as that, just to let you know. So.
Joe, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to input, based on the host agreement, there isn't anything that the landfill should have to show us that they haven't provided to us before. So everything that goes to the DNR comes here at the same date. So technically, anything that Chad has to show us that we don't have is something he hasn't finalized, or it's just in-house.
Well, let me tell you, you will find it rather difficult to get your hands on documentation and drawings that have been shipped here to the city at the same time that they were sent to other places. Unless something's changed, the landfill is not on everybody's, front burner here at the city. It's, oops, what do I do with this? I'm telling you that.
That gives me a chance to brag a little about JSA. So we get everything too, and we request it electronically, and we store it on a cloud so that we can pull it up when our client asks for it.
Okay. Well, your day on the cloud will get numbered when it's not there. Rolly, your thoughts, comments?
No, I'd say keep the tour at 4 o'clock, and if we get here at 5:30 or 6, we have the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Phil.
Should I post it as 5:30 with the anticipation you guys would potentially make it? And if it starts late from there?
Yes.
That would be good, 5:30.
All right.
realizing that it could start late.
Sure.
But we can say that to the people when we get here.
Pardon me?
So you can say that when some of us aren't here is that we did the tour, because some of the citizens might be on the tour as well.
Yeah, oh yeah,
So we just explain ourselves before we start that meeting.
yeah.
Not a problem. I didn't see it.
Elise, you had a question, comment?
I guess I would just say, as somebody who oversees and does meetings like this for a different type of facility, because we do this for the MRF, I mean, there are some benefits to being on site, just by, I don't know, being at the site. Sometimes I think you see and think to ask different questions than you see and think to ask when you're not there. So maybe a hybrid approach could be another possible path forward. But I definitely see the benefits to this room, because this room, again, no offense, beats the other room that we used to be in, just for ADA compliance and recordings and for all of the reasons that were mentioned.
Everybody mentions all these other regulatory issues, ADA compliance, all those other things. Where was that deficient in being ADA compliant down there?
I'm not familiar with ADA, so that's just why I was suggesting a hybrid approach.
Okay. Because I just don't think it's fair. They had a building, it had a conference room, we used it for years, and now all of a sudden it's not acceptable. We start questioning ADA compliance, and to my knowledge, that's totally ADA compliant. It was when it was built, which means it still should be now.
I think it was when we were meeting in the office, but it was too small. So that's why we moved over by the.
We moved to the conference room because, right, the office was too small, but the conference room didn't exist in the beginning.
The conference room, well, over where we go now is not ADA compliant, because if you were in a wheelchair, you wouldn't get in there unless somebody picked the front of that chair up. If you were on a walker, you wouldn't get in there, so it's not ADA.
Well, the problem is the maintenance issue. It's that gravel stone going in, but the rest of it, yes, I think, yeah, it has to be. When it was built, it had to meet ADA compliance. Okay, and it wasn't that long ago. So
Let's discuss this after the next meeting again and touch base and see what we want to do in the fall and in the winter, okay?
okay. Communications and other business as allowed by law. Citizen commentary, obviously there will be none. Adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 6:08 PM. Thank you.
How are the kids?